Chyna. Today, our special guest co-host is Dr. Arumala.
Hi, y'all.
Thank you for joining us today. And also for the second half of the show, we'll have Silk White. He's a film director within the DMV area. Thank you guys for tuning in. Please feel free to call in if you have any female questions or concerns or any issues that you want to talk about with Dr. Arumala. We have her for the next 30 minutes, so make sure y'all make do of this time. The telephone number is 240-389-3397, or feel free to use the live Facebook feed to type in your comments or questions. So, without further ado, Dr. Arumala, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do and who you are?
Sure. My name is Ruth Arumala. I am from here. I'm from Maryland. And I grew up in Salisbury, Maryland. So most of you, that's close to Ocean City, Maryland. And I am an OBGYN. I practice in Mansfield, Texas, which is 38 minutes outside of Dallas, Texas. So I'm a solo practitioner. I work for a hospital system, but I run my own show, which is really great because it's my first gig outside of training. So it's really cool because I get to do what I want to do with some guidance, but I can take care of women the way I want to take care of women, and I can be there for women all the time, however they need me, and that's pretty much my calling. And in addition, I have a podcast called the Pretty in Pink Podcast. It is available on iTunes, or so I guess Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and it's also available on SoundCloud.
So what's the podcast about? Tell us about
So the podcast is really about women's issues. It was inspired by my friends. So a lot of my friends would like call me and be like, I have this issue and I have that issue, but I really don't feel comfortable talking to my gynecologist about this or to my nurse practitioner about this. And what do you think about this, or what do you think about that? And I started going to like their visits with them to advocate for them, and I decided that I needed to create something that would basically be the same advice I would give my friends, but it's somewhere documented, and I can share that with all women, as many women as want to listen to it. So we go into we spend about 8 to 20 minutes every single episode talking about one particular subject. So I've done everything from fibroids, which I know that's a big concern from us black women. So I talk about it, and everything I talk about doesn't replace going to a doctor, but it does give you a lot of insight. Everything is factual. It's not like you Googled it, you know. And so we talked about from fibroids to ovarian cysts to, what you should do about like negotiating using condoms, things like that. So we talk about all these things, and we've talked about other things that are not necessarily subjects that might come to your mind, but like we talked about artificial intelligence and how it can be used in medicine, things like that. So I'm 10 episodes strong so far. So I started in February of this year, and I put out at least one every single week. So there's a lot of content. I've recorded probably 20 more. So there's a lot of content.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have a few questions.
Sure.
That people actually text me to see if, I'm sorry, I had to go live so I can get the questions. One of them are, what are some of the symptoms and causes of pelvic inflammatory disease?
Okay.
Why is it important not to douche? And how often should women see their OBGYN?
Ooh, those are all three good questions. So I'll take them each at once.
Okay.
First of all, pelvic inflammatory disease is when you can have it can be anywhere from an inflammation to an infection. Okay, most of the times it's an infection. Some of the time is an infection that is from an STD, and sometimes it is not. So don't think that every time someone has a pelvic inflammatory disease that it came from an STD. It can be from another infection. So basically what that means is that there's an infection of the pelvic organs. And the pelvic organs include the uterus, which is the womb that holds the baby, the cervix, which is the opening to the womb. And most of the time when you have an infection of the cervix, we call it cervicitis, and that's where gonorrhea usually lives. So gonorrhea usually causes cervicitis, and that's why when someone has gonorrhea, they have a lot of pain with intercourse at the end of intercourse because the penis is hitting the cervix, and that causes pain because it's inflamed and infected. It can also be out in the fallopian tubes, out in the ovaries, and out in the lining, which we call the peritoneum, which lines all the inside organs. So a lot of the time what ends up happening is that you get an infection that continues to ascend, and so it goes up through the vagina, in through the cervix, into the uterus, and it can go out into the fallopian tubes and into the pelvis, into the pelvic. And when it's there, it can form an abscess that's called a tubo-ovarian abscess, or it could just be an infection. And with pelvic inflammatory disease, because it's infecting much more than one organ, you have to be on antibiotics longer than if it was just an STD where it affects either the cervix or the fallopian tubes. So that's why you have to be on longer antibiotics. And then if it forms an abscess is when the infection is there and your body tries to fight it, but the way your body fights it is it forms a wall around the infection. So that means that antibiotics and whatever your doctor gives you to treat it cannot penetrate that wall. So we need to treat you inpatient. Like you need to be inpatient and get IV treatment because those antibiotics are strong enough to penetrate that wall. Wow. So that's the difference. So second thing is I actually have a podcast coming up about vaginal infections, and one of the biggest things is I say no douching and Kegels every single day. Do your Kegels and no douching all day long. That's like my mantra, right? Because douching changes the pH of your vagina. Your vagina is, so your vagina is supposed to be acidic. And when you introduce things into the vagina, you're going to change the vagina. The vagina is supposed to have bacteria in it. It's not supposed to be clean, like completely clean. It's self-cleaning. So it should not have, your mouth has bacteria in it. Your mouth and your vagina are analogous. They're like pretty much similar. And that's why when we have people that have vaginal defects, we actually use the mouth, we use the mucosa in the mouth to recreate the vagina. Okay, so you need to have some kind of bacteria that helps fight other infections. And when you douche, you end up washing away those, and you end up changing the pH. So then you have the bad bacteria, not the bacteria that should be in there, or what we call your flora. I call it your florals, and it should be in your vagina. You wash that away and allow the bacteria that should not be there, the aggressive bacteria that gives off a lot of end products that come off as a smell and can cause an infection. So you end up creating the opposite of what you wanted to do. So simply put, in order to keep your bottom clean, what you need to do is mild soap, if any, and a lot of practitioners say just water. And what you're supposed to be washing is the outside, your vulva. So you wash your vulva, wash in between the lips, but don't go into the vagina. The vagina itself is self-cleaning.
So quick question before we go to the third question. We have actually on our show, she's not a doctor, but she's like an alternative medicine, organic person. And she wanted to be here today when her son was sick, but she explained, she also has her own talk show as well. Okay. And she explained on her talk show that we should not use soap as well. And a lot of people had questions and concerns about that. People was like, what? Soap? We don't supposed to use soap. Do you recommend, because since her show, I've ordered Dr. Bronner's peppermint liquid soap. I've been using that, and I've been a Dove fan for years. I can't use Caress. I can't use Olive Olay. So I can only use Dove, and it has to be like the sensitive skin. I'm very sensitive down here. So do you recommend that peppermint soap is okay, or do you just still stick with water only?
So let's be clear. Everybody can at least do the water only. Okay. And you should be washing, like you should be, don't say we're not supposed to be washing. You're supposed to be washing, but you should be washing with water only. Now, everybody has a different tolerability. Like, it's the same thing that somebody can put Vaseline all over their face and never get a pimple in their lives. And there are people that, you know, you put the like mildest thing on it and they like break out, right? Yes. So it's the same thing with your vagina. It doesn't change because it's down there. Everybody has a different sensitivity. Right. So I think what I usually recommend is water first only. If you feel so uncomfortable that you need to use something, you can use a mild soap. And the mild soap would include the peppermint wash.
Okay.
I do interact a lot with people who own alternative, because I think that they have something to bring to the table. Western medicine is not all of it, and it doesn't explain everything. So I interact a lot with people, and I actually think that they have a lot to bring to the table. So that's something that I would see how your skin and your body, interacts with that type of product and see what happens.
I like the peppermint soap. It is very refreshing.
Refreshing, yeah.
It does tingle a little bit when you first use it, but I like it.
Yeah.
I have a question. Speaking of like soap, how harmful is it to take baths? You know, like women, we love our bubble baths, and sometimes I have to put Epsom salt because of my back or whatever. But how harmful is taking baths to the vagina?
So it's not as harmful as you think, because your vagina is not open. Like it doesn't just sit open, right? That's why when you go to an OBGYN, they have to put a speculum in to open it, to be able to see what's going on. So you sitting in a bath is the same thing as you sitting in the pool, sitting in the water. Like there's no difference. So
it doesn't matter if you're putting like bubble bath or
no, I don't,
bombs
unless you already have issues. Now this is what we're talking about is somebody that doesn't have any issues. They don't have psoriasis, eczema, they don't have recurrent yeast infections. All those people are a different category. But a general statement for someone who's generally healthy with a normal immune system, taking a bath is not out of the question. I mean, with Epsom salt, I use it all the time. I'm an athlete, so that's what I use. So yeah.
Okay. What about boric acid?
Okay, so boric acid.
Can you talk about that, please?
Yes, so boric acid is, so if you have recurrent yeast infections, you may be familiar with boric acid. Boric acid is it's actually pretty strong medication, and it's used for recurrent yeast infections. So women get yeast infections, cool. You get a yeast infection, most people know what that is. You have a cottage cheese-like thick discharge, and you have vaginal irritation or itchiness. That is a combination of a yeast infection. A lot of times though, even though that's like the quintessential way of saying it, a lot of times it's misdiagnosed because trichomonas or trichomoniasis, which is an STD, can actually present very similar to yeast infection. So I think that one of the things that I recommend is if you think you have a yeast infection, don't treat it. Come into your gynecologist if you can with those symptoms so that they can actually check and make sure that you have those symptoms, okay? Because it's really easy to go and get Monistat or whatever, and then you partially treat it, because a lot of times too people have concurrent infections, so they can have a yeast infection and something else. So that you treat something and then you have something else. So we can figure that all out at once. And that's not a plug for coming to see me, because I used to be of the other school, which is you tell me what it is over the phone and I'll treat you, right? You don't have to come in. But I started to read the studies, and a lot, actually 70% of vaginitis, which is the infection of the vagina, is misdiagnosed. So that's the background. So let's say you have a yeast infection and you're treated, right? And it goes away, no problem. And we can treat it through the vagina with creams, gels, or with fluconazole, just a pill, one pill. And it goes away, no problem. And you don't have any infection, no problem. But if you get 4 yeast infections in one 12-month period, we consider that recurrent yeast infections or recurrent candidiasis. At that point, we have to start to decide how to treat you. The first step of treating recurrent yeast infections, and remember, yeast infections are not an STD. You don't get it from a guy, so or your partner or toys, so you don't have to treat the partner, right? So what we do is we start off by increasing the length of time you're on antifungals, because yeast is a fungus. So you're on antifungals. So we do that for a long period of time. If that doesn't work, and that is up to 6 months of treatment, then you go to boric acid.
Okay.
Now, the art of medicine, which is different from the book learning, there's an art of medicine, which means that my book learning plus my experience with patients come up with this creative way of treating patients. There are some practitioners that see that boric acid works faster. So they go straight to prescribing it after they think you have a recurrent yeast infection.
Okay.
Now, let me say this also. If you have 4 yeast infections in 1 year, please ask your practitioner to check for diabetes and HIV. Because recurrent yeast infections means that your immune system is low and can't fight the yeast. Or you have a virulent strain. A virulent strain means a really, really aggressive strain. So you need to ask your practitioner, hey, look, I've had this a couple of times. I need to know if I'm pre-diabetic, I'm diabetic. Because if you're pre-diabetic, you can reverse it. You can do a lot of things to reverse it. So it's better that you know it's an early marker.
Yes.
Okay? So that's boric acid. You asked a third question, but I
can't. Go back to what it was real quick. How often should women see their OBGYN?
So this is, I think it's per the age group. So before 21, a lot of people don't go to an OBGYN. They go to a pediatrician or to their regular family practitioner. But I actually think there are many reasons to see an OBGYN because a lot of women don't wait till 21 to have sex. A lot of women don't, so you should know about your options for birth control. You should know about your options for STD prevention. And I think that OBGYN is most suited to say that to you. But we don't start doing pap smears. And listen. We don't start doing pap smears no matter how many babies you've had before the age of 21. Okay? So that is old school. If you have a doctor who's trying to do a pap smear before the age of 21, you should be like, hold up, wait, nope, that's not what happens, okay? It doesn't matter how many babies you've had. It doesn't matter when you started having sex. So that's, from the beginning. Now, between the ages of 21 to 65, this is when you are getting pap smears and you are still, you're getting pap smears up till 65 usually. So that's the range we should kind of talk about. So you should see your OBGYN if you don't have any problems yearly. If you don't have any problems, just 1 year.
Saying why?
Why? What?
Why what? Elaborate on why.
Why?
Another question I had a minute ago and I lost it that quick. I'll think of it in a minute.
I have one. Okay, so there's a lot of myths out here about vaginas and the smell. So how should a normal vagina smell? We all know about if there's something wrong, then you'll have like a fishy odor or something like that. But I've been told that all vaginas have some sort of,
just like every armpit has a smell.
Okay.
Everybody has their own swag.
Right.
And you should get used to what your swag is and not try to completely eliminate it because that's your normal flora.
Right.
And I say floral, right? That is your perfume. That is you. That is your essence, right? And I think that it has been kind of demonized to have any kind of smell to the vagina, and that's not the case. The vagina should have its own swag. That's how I say it. So, yeah.
Okay. She came back and said, why not pap before 21 if you're sexually active?
Okay, great. So the pap smear is just a screening test for cervical cancer. That's what it is. Okay. So it's not an exam. Right. It's a screening test for cervical cancer. So the thing about cervical cancer is that before the age of 21, cervical cancer is caused by the HPV vaccine. I'm sorry, the HPV virus. So the human papilloma virus causes cervical cancer. We know that. You can have the HPV virus and it not lead to cervical cancer. It is necessary to have the virus to have cervical cancer, but it's not sufficient in that you can have the virus and your body can fight it. Before the age,
I heard before that a couple people had that virus and then it went away.
Yes, it can. And so before the age of 21, your immune system is the best it's ever going to be. So the research, there's lots of research that goes into it, and research is actually done down the street in Bethesda. And basically, your body can fight it. So it doesn't matter if you're sexually active or not, even if you have the HPV HPV virus. I keep saying vaccine because I want to put a plug for that. But HPV virus, your immune system can be strong enough to fight it. So there's no reason for us to be searching for changes in your cervical cells. Now, whenever you have a screening test, we have to weigh the risk of overdiagnosing So seeing that there's a virus and they're doing something about it, which is doing surgery to a really young woman's cervix, and the body would have fought it anyway. So that's why we wait. And we want to see if the body will fight it. If the body doesn't fight it, then it's now our turn to say, hey, the body hasn't fought it. We can either look at this closely or we can do surgery on it. And I actually just did a podcast on this. Like, I went into really detail about the HPV vaccine, when you're infected, what to do, and all that. So there is already that, and it's, again, on the Pretty in Pink podcast, so you can listen to it. It's on Spotify, it's on Apple, and it's on SoundCloud.
So I have two questions. Someone on Facebook says, with HPV becoming part of sexual education for young children, what advice do you have for parents of young females, males too, about vaccinations which are becoming mandatory? I'm glad she brought that up, because I actually was going to ask you about the HPV vaccine for boys. I have two sons, and I got them already started. I think he's supposed to start 11, right?
Yes.
So both of my sons, my 14-year-old has finished his 3 sessions. And so my youngest son, which is 12, he's finished as well. So how does that work? Like, do they have these same vaccinations for females?
So
men, do you recommend them?
So men are the reservoirs of the HPV vaccine, or the HPV virus. So they carry the virus around and they give it off to women, right? The HPV can cause penile cancer. Penile cancer is really low, and it can cause anal cancer in men that have sex with men. So it's not like, oh, it never affects men, okay? But if you stop the vaccine on the reservoir, so if you're able to stop the virus from the person who carries it around, then it's going to make sure that our women are also protected. Because really, right now, the HPV virus is almost as common as the common cold, right? Our population is highly infected with the HPV. But there is a time where we can come to where if everybody keeps getting the vaccinations before they get any sexual contact, because remember, HPV virus can be transmitted without intercourse. It can be transmitted with just even physical rubbing, right?
Wow,
with of the yes.
I didn't know that either.
So that's why you can see that. So
Asking for the phone number is 240-389-3397.
So that's why when we talk to women who are virgins, and we're trying to figure out whether they need a pap smear, because if you're truly a virgin, you don't need a pap smear. If HPV is sexually transmitted and it is a prerequisite, right? So we also ask them, have they had any heavy petting and touching and contact of because a lot of people are virgins, but then they've had like no real penetration, but you know, he wanted to rub it here and love it there, and you know, so all of that, or have they shared toys? Because for women that have sex with women, have they shared toys with other women?
Hey, can y'all hear me? It's India.
Hi, India. Yes, we can hear you.
I have several questions, but I'm going to narrow it down. Okay, so my question is, I don't know if it's a question or yes, it is a question. So I was diagnosed with HPV at 12. I wasn't sexually active, and I had cryosurgery done at 13. That's when they freeze the cells, I guess, in the cervix. And my...
Yeah.
I've had that done as well.
But I can't hear.
No, you can hear us? Can you hear us?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
Okay, so I had the cryosurgery done at 13. My thing is, for the vaccination, I'm anti-vax for several reasons. But now that they have these HPV vaccinations going on, what are the side effects for women having this HPV vaccination?
She's breaking up a bit. I don't know. So vaccines have okay, let me just put this plug out there. I'm pro-vaccine, so I have to tell you my bias. I'm a physician that goes with evidence-based medicine, and evidence-based medicine says prevention is better than cure. And so vaccinations, I'm pro-vaccination. So I know we have a difference of opinion there. And every vaccine has side effects. with the HPV vaccine, it's the same as every other vaccination in that you can have an adverse reaction to the vaccine and to what's put into the vaccine. Like, for instance, there are some vaccines that in order to preserve it, they put egg components. If you have an egg allergy, you're going to have a reaction to that. Okay. The most common reaction to every vaccine is a skin reaction at the point of the vaccination. That's the most common. The second is many people have a flu-like reaction. It's a mild flu-like reaction to any foreign like into your body, right? And so you can have that. Those are the two most common, and that includes nausea, vomiting, diarrhea, and a fever. So all of that is like put together as one thing. So that's why when people say, "Oh, I had the flu vaccine and I got the flu right away," that is actually consistent with the vaccination. The most common reaction is one, the skin, and then two, a flu-like reaction. So that makes sense. It's just that what we say is that the flu that you would have gotten without the vaccine is much worse and could have hospitalized you versus not. So that's, I do. And let me tell you why I do it. I'm around all y'all flu people all day. Like, I'm a doctor. I deal with people that have flu and are sick all the time. So I get it because I know. Yeah.
I'm gonna let y'all go. I actually was gonna hang up, but you can finish answering that, and I'm gonna hang up after this one.
Yeah, hang
The
up
only-
for you to tune in. But go ahead. You got one more question, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. The only other question is, for the HPV vaccine, do they also offer the one with no preservative, like they offer most other vaccines? A lot of people don't know that there are vaccinations that they have no preservatives in them. Most of the ones we get have preservatives in them. You could go ahead and answer. Thank you so much. I'm gonna hang up so they can hear. Thank y'all. Love y'all.
Love you too.
That was a really good question. I do not know the answer to that. I just don't. I don't know if what we give out is a standard basic, and I should put this plug in. I have only worked in places that the government and has been like I worked at MedStar Washington Hospital Center, Georgetown Washington Hospital Center, Georgetown University Hospital, and I worked for the government, like the federal government. So I have only worked in places where it's been like, it hasn't really been private, so I don't know what is offered other than the basic.
Someone else asks, what about orally? Can you get HPV orally?
Yes, you can. And you can get HPV. Let me even give you this scenario. When I do surgery on people who have an HPV related disease or condition, I actually have to wear a special filter in my mask. Because you can breathe in the viruses. Wow. And there was actually a gynecologic surgeon who had HPV infection of his throat and HPV and throat cancer. You can't say that he didn't get it from somewhere else, but the most common reason why he probably got it is because he did a lot of that surgery without that filter. So the virus is small, and it can go through a lot of things. So you have to have a special filter. We don't just use a regular mask.
So what does the HPV virus do?
So the HPV virus, what it does, so every virus, it infects a cell, and it takes over the machinery of the cell to make the cells replicate the virus. That's what just viruses do. And so that's why it's hard to cure a virus, because if you're curing a virus, you basically have to kill your own cells, because it doesn't have its own machinery. It's actually using the machinery of a cell. So the HPV has, we call it tropisms, or like things that it's attracted to, cells that it loves. And the cells that it loves most commonly is the cervix. You rarely hear about vaginal cancer, so you should say to yourself, like, the HPV had to bypass the vagina to get to the cervix. It likes the cervix, okay? It likes cervical cells, it likes anal cells, it likes throat cells, and so that's why you can have, you know, anal warts from HPV, or you can have, you know, it likes the vulva too. So that's what it does. It basically takes over the machinery of the cell, and then it creates copies of itself. Now, sometimes when your immune system is really, really strong, it can fight it off. And that's why with a younger woman who has the best immune system, and that's the reason why you have to keep your kids really, really, one, vaccinated, but really, really healthy, especially if you're going to go the no vaccine route, which I do not endorse. But if you're going to go that route, make sure your kids are eating like the best vegetables and all that. They're not, stuffing their face with things that also have preservatives. Because here's where I have a problem with a lot of people that don't go the vaccine route. You don't go the vaccine route because it has preservatives, but you're eating McDonald's that has a lot of preservatives. Wow. So we got to stay consistent. Yeah. Keep that same energy.
There's a few questions on Facebook Live, but I'm going to ask this first question before I ask these two. So I'm like India. When I was before I was actually active, when I was very young, I was diagnosed with precancerous cells, so I had to get the cryo.
And it's so bad because it's almost like mutilation is what we consider it now.
So they freeze your cervix. So my next question to that is, I also have an incompetent cervix. So do you think that is related somehow? Because I can't hold a kid for 9 months. I lost 3. I have 2 that's living. But it took me to lose 3 kids for them to figure I was high-risk doctors actually at Georgetown. I had both of my sons at Georgetown. And they both even still came prematurely, even though I was cerclaged. I was cerclaged twice with my second son. And he still came at 6 months and 3 weeks. So weighing 110. So do you think that cryo, I'm just trying to figure out, how does a woman have an incompetent cervix?
Okay, good question. So incompetent cervix are multifactorial. So one of the...
Is he out there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
This won't have to be the last question, y'all, because we do have a second guest. And I wasn't aware that he was outside.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
So the incompetent cervix or cervix competence has many factors. The most common factor is that it has like a multifactorial genetic. So if your mom had an incompetent cervix and had kids early, that's a reason. Another reason is if you've ever had surgery on your cervix.
You said if your mom had the kid early?
Yeah, you have an increased risk to have, because it's the same tissue. It's a similar tissue that she's going to pass. You know what I mean? So it has.
Me and my sister full time.
Yeah. So that's one. It's like I said, it's multifactorial. Your real question to me is, could the cryo on your cervix have changed the competency of your cervix? And the answer is yes, it could have.
I thought that. But
more commonly is when you have a cold knife cone, where we actually take a large piece, because there are 2 ways to fix HPV infected cells. One way is to ablate it, which is the cryo, or using laser. The other way is to take it out, which is doing surgery. There are 2 ways to do surgery. You either do a cold knife cone, where you create a cone, so you're taking out more tissue, or you just do a leap, which you take out just a little bit of it. So that's why yes, it could be, but can you point it out? No, you can't.
They're asking, could you come back? Because your time is short. Next time we bring you back, and whenever you come back to DC, we're going to do a whole 4 hours.
So I will keep in contact with you guys. Guys, I live in Texas now, but my whole fam, my whole friends are here. So I will definitely come back. And in the meantime, you have a plethora of information on the podcast. I can also plug in my Instagram name, because I interact a lot on Instagram. You can DM me questions. I answer them. I answer every single message. And I respond to every single comment, which might end if I ever get really that famous. But my Instagram name is I.am.dr.arumala. I'll say it again, I.am.dr.arumala. And I would love to talk to you guys, interact with you guys. This has been a lot of fun. These ladies are the best. It was awesome. I had a lot of fun.
You can stick around if you
Ooh,
want.
I would love to.
Actually a film director.
Okay.
Can you let them know you come on in? Guys, I know you guys have a lot of questions. I'm so sorry. We have another guest that's getting ready to come in, but we're definitely going to bring her back, even if we can have her call in over the phone from Texas. And then she has her own podcast as well. Go follow her on Instagram. She says she answers every question. DM her. Make sure what day is your podcast?
So my podcast is released every Monday. I release a podcast every single Monday, and I do release some on Fridays. So like if I have a special one, like I have a special request right now. One of my friends is pregnant and she wanted me to do one called Fit Mama. So that one will come out, you know, in the middle of the week somewhere because it wasn't part of my regular schedule.
Okay. So guys, we just had Mr. Silk White just walk in the building. This is the camera here, you guys, and this is just my Facebook Live here. But thank you guys for coming in, and you have your lead actress here, or one of your
Yes, the girl CC right here.
CC.
How y'all been though? Y'all doing all right?
We're doing good. We're happy to finally get you here. I've been trying to get you here for a while, actually.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Finally.
We here now. So
Yes. So can you tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Okay, that's great. My name is Silk White, and I am a writer and film director, author as well. And we got these web series going good right now on YouTube.
I know. So, and you're an actress, right?
I am an actress.
You like to share the mic for her because
Or you can sit right here. I'll sit up. And
actually, yeah,
listen.
won't you do that? You know why? Because for some reason the camera kind of like you're gonna be cut off halfway, so it'd be a good idea for you to sit here. CC coming through, so tell us a little bit about who she is as well.
CC coming through.
Yes, CC, come through.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So CC, how long have you been acting?
I've been acting for about a year now.
Okay, you enjoy acting? Being an actress?
I love being an actress. That's one of my favorite things to do.
I do a little bit of acting myself.
Do you?
Yes, but I don't think I'm ready for the stage play acting.
Get ready. Get ready. They ready for you. I think they're ready for you.
Have you done any stage plays?
Not as of yet. That's
Okay.
my goal this year, to do a stage play.
Okay. So what character do you have in the web series?
So I play Monica. I play Mike. Silk is my husband on the show
Okay.
by the name of Mike. So we go by this little thing called Eminem. So I'm his wife, Star's best friend on the show, and then I have a brother who I care and love on the show as well. So I'm a caretaker. I love the people that's in my circle,
Okay.
and I just make sure that he's good, make sure he's on his best behavior, things like that. So I'm an awesome wife.
Okay. Nice. So, Phil, can you tell us a little bit about, how many web series you got going on, how much stuff you've done over the last few years, how long you've been a film director? Just let us know what's up.
Yeah, so the web series she's talking about is called Till Death Do Us Part.
Yes.
It's called what? I'm sorry,
Till Death Do Us Part.
Okay, to death.
Yeah, so y'all can watch it. It's free on YouTube. Just type in Till Death Do Us Part. We also got Love Hurts. Y'all can type that in. We got The Hand I Was Dealt. We got a few others.
He's a busy man.
I know.
Been doing this for a little while though. Now we've been doing it for a little while.
Okay. So, is everything based in Baltimore?
It's just the DMV area. We film in Baltimore. We film in like Upper Maryland, Laurel, DC. So it's just like we just be all over the DMV area pretty much.
Okay. So, how can our audience, if they're interested in getting on your web series, do you have like a casting call?
Yeah,
Do you have an email address that we could email to?
We do online auditions at Good to Go Films auditions at gmail.com.
Oh, you do it online?
Yeah,
That's
so I
right,
let
that's
people-
right,
I let
Right,
people-
Yeah,
right.
that's nice.
Worldwide, anyone can
Yeah,
send
I
in
can't-
their
I can't sit here and watch
info.
people do it. I don't have
Yeah.
time to do that.
Right,
I know
right.
that's right.
Honestly, I feel like that's the best efficient way to do it for everybody.
Right, right. Absolutely.
These casting calls, people be lined up out the
Oh,
door.
and don't even get to everybody.
Yeah.
That is
Yeah, so
true.
they just send me
That is
auditions
true.
and
You're not
we take a
standing
look
all
at
that
it.
time. and
All
you
that.
wait on it.
I'm like, we done.
I know. Cut off level.
That's
Okay.
it.
Everybody saying hello, hello, hello. I was just trying to see if we had any questions.
Okay.
Okay. So, Simone, did you have anything?
No, not at this time.
Not at this
No.
time.
So what are you guys working on?
We working on we got Till Death Do Us Part. It's actually going on right now. It's an ongoing series. So we at episode 24.
Episode 24.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so-
wow.
so every,
Yeah, we've been busy.
yeah,
We've been busy.
every
I've
Wednesday
definitely heard of
night.
Love
So
Hurts.
that's this part. Love Hurts, yes.
Every Wednesday night at midnight.
That's on YouTube.
Yes. Yep, it's on YouTube. And have to pull up your phone so you can subscribe. Yes.
Okay.
Okay, and how many series y'all want to do?
Man, we're gonna get to 100.
We're going to get to 100. We're going to get to 100 before.
Wow, that's
Yeah, so we need actors all the
Yeah,
time.
actors all the
And,
time.
yeah, so
Okay.
you know,
Right.
It's hard for these actors and actresses to find work and stuff. You know, when you're an actor, it's hard to find work. So I'm just trying to let everybody everybody getting where they fit in at. You know what I'm saying? But you gotta be serious. You gotta be
Right.
You have to be serious.
Absolutely. And people don't realize that it can be an all-day thing. People don't know. It's like we can film all day, and they see the fun that we have behind the scenes, and they're like, oh, this is like fun, but you got to be dedicated. You got to be dedicated.
No, not like that.
No one's getting paid.
That's when you're serious about your craft. So all the time, you know, you will not get paid. First, you have to get yourself out there a lot and get,
We'll be very soon.
very soon. So it's not paid as of yet, but soon.
Okay.
So we got to put in the work, you know.
that's
And it's okay. It's okay. Yes.
everything that's on YouTube.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. So do you,
And-
You won't ever have any paid parts?
Yeah, so what happens is the show is making money, but I have to pay for
Mhm.
and stuff.
Yes.
Equipment,
Okay.
warm type shit. So
Absolutely.
yeah.
No, not at all.
We have,
But I gotta get paid.
we have.
With that $1 million smile, I love it.
We have a large cast, so it's hard to pay everybody. 'Cause we got 2 different shows going on.
Yeah.
We got
Right.
30 actors and stuff. You know
But
what I'm
let's keep it
Okay.
real. With this acting thing, you have to do like the
The free things first.
you have to.
Yeah, you
There's
do.
no way you gonna
You
go
do.
in and get paid off the
Yeah, you gotta
break.
get your face out there.
people
You
can
can't-
know
So some people
who
still
you
have
are.
like parts, like the movie you was in.
Right.
Oh, okay, nice. Oh, really?
You know, have paid parts.
Mhm.
So I know
But
some
guess
of
what? Those people that he's talking about, they've
They've
been
been
doing it.
years.
Exactly.
Yes,
So
out there.
How it works is this: when you first come in the game, right? It's like, what have you done? Why would I pay you? You have done nothing.
No
You understand
experience.
what I'm saying?
Mhm.
Like, it's like me coming saying, let me cook your food, and I'm not a chef. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Pay me the top chef money and stuff like
That's
that. So
right.
You gotta put your work in. You gotta
do.
pay your dues and put this work in. It's not no joke and stuff like that. You know what I'm saying?
That's
And a
what's
lot of
up.
people want to get paid and stuff like that, but you know, you have to be
Seems like
worth
really
it. You
hard
have to work
work.
it. Yeah.
It's very time consuming.
It's very
it's
time
hard
consuming,
work.
but when you enjoy what you do, it doesn't seem
It's
like
not
work at
bad,
all.
yeah.
It doesn't seem like work at all. It's just that putting everything together. I call him the brains behind it all because
Right.
to see how you do the videography of it, and then you gotta cut into certain scenes and then put it all together. You're like, wow, it's a whole story. I'm in the show, so I have to
Right.
watch it over and over again. Like, dang, we done already. I want to watch it again, but it's very
I
enjoyable.
think I've asked this before, but how do you guys memorize so much stuff? I can't remember from day to day. Like, how do you
probably
memorize
extra.
your lines? Like,
And it's more extra hard for him because he's writing it.
right.
And he's
And
in it.
he's
Yeah.
in it.
How
Yeah.
do you remember
Remember
everything?
everything.
Right.
We've been getting some good offers from people and things like that.
Yes.
You can't jump at the first thing, so we just
Mhm.
be patient. Everything's gonna work itself out. So
So do you think, or is your goal to ultimately have your web series on YouTube? I'm sorry, Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
What's the platform that you're trying to reach?
So what we're about to do now, we start our own paid subscription service on Friday actually. It's with the GoFilms.com.
Okay.
And we're gonna have exclusive content that's not gonna be on YouTube there for all of our fans who just love what we're doing. And they can pay $2
support.
every month, and we got new content coming in monthly, and everything is gonna be great. So we building our own stuff. We're gonna pay our own stuff, right? And then when the people do come, like they've been coming with the BS offers, we don't
You
got
just
to
want to
take it.
accept
Right.
anything.
Just be patient, and everything's gonna work out. That's what I'll tell you.
So how does this work out with your personal life? Like, how do you balance this? Like, I know you're always filming. I mean, I'm
That's a
sure
good
you
question.
have home obligations.
That's
you
a good
work.
question.
I don't know. How do you balance that? Because it's hard.
Yeah, well, I have my own business, so I make my own hours and stuff.
Okay.
You know, so that's pretty much it. It's just being dedicated to everything, yo. They say if you want to do something great, you know what I'm saying, you have to do it.
You have to put that work in.
Definitely.
You have to put work in, and you can't play around. You can't let people outwork you and stuff like that either. So,
Right.
if you want to get taken serious in this business, you gotta be serious about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You just focus on the serious people. We got a big team with To Death Do Us Part and Love Hurts. You know, so we've been putting in this work. The Love Hurts show got over 6 million views.
Wow.
Right? And this show, To Death Do Us Part, we at 700,000.
Absolutely. You almost at a million.
So how do you guys do your advertising? How you guys work?
We do word of mouth. We got
Flyers.
We do Instagram. We do Instagram influencers and everything.
Yeah, it's very close. Oh, nice.
And everywhere we go, we network. I pull up my cards. I'm like, here's a card, here's a card. Hi, my name is Cece. I play Monica on To Death Do Us Part. Check us out and subscribe. That's how you do.
You guys way up there. You getting 700,000 million views on that.
That's what 6 million views, man. So we're doing pretty good.
That is nice. Yes. And even with YouTube channels, is this true? I've heard this is true. If you have a YouTube channel, the most people who tune, you get paid for that, right? Yeah.
That's
okay.
true.
That's
true.
what's up.
Yeah, that's the number one. Well, for advertising, they said YouTube.
That is true.
They said YouTube.
Gotta be dedicated and promote yourself. Promote.
YouTube's a lot of work.
Lord have mercy. Yes, Lord have mercy.
I can imagine when I get mine going. But
They pay off though, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
it does.
Yes.
It's good.
Right.
It's good.
So how did you find Miss Cece here?
Oh, thank you.
Somebody recommended her to me.
Okay.
Teresa Davis. And
That's my mentor.
Okay.
mentor. And she sent me an inbox. And I'm like, hey, I'm the person she was talking about.
Okay.
Hey, what's
I
good?
said, I'm ready to get it popping. What's going on? Ready to get some work. Who are you? Because what happened was I seen her, she posted him on her page.
Okay.
So I'm like, who's this Silk White character? Who is he? So I wanted to know. So I'm like, Teresa, who is Silk White? Who is he? And then she started describing this whole story about who he is. I'm like, does he have work for me? So I'm like, she's taking forever and a day to get back. So I hit him up on his Facebook, and I was like, hi, my name is so-and-so. I know Teresa Davis is my mentor. I just want to reach out to you and see if you have any parts for me. I can be an extra, whatever you need me to do. So he looked over my information. He asked me, was I an actress? I told him, yes, I was. And we started from there.
So how long have you been acting again, you said?
For a year.
For a year. Okay. And what made you want to start being, what made you want to be an actress?
I have a lot of personality. I'm like, I need my personality. I need my personality to shine, and it's an outlet for me. You know, I enjoy it. So it's like besides the acting thing, it's like I really have fun with being in the acting world. Just being someone else for a little bit is fun, and it's challenging to play certain parts. Like if I had to show my anger side, that's a challenging part for me because I'm normally happy, bubbly. But I like to be a little mysterious, different things, but I love that part about it.
So have you, since you've been an actress, have you had to do any difficult scenes, meaning like any sexual scenes, or anything that made you feel uncomfortable, out your comfort zone? Because let me also add this, we also have two other actresses that they're not here today, but they're co-hosts on this show.
Okay.
And we just was talking about a few weeks ago, one of them is not comfortable with doing sex scenes, and the other one was like, look, you gonna have to like, eventually, my real husband at home, he is aware that eventually I may have to do a sex scene. Okay.
But I'm classy with mine, so I would have to make sure that I like it to my taste.
Okay.
So I would have to be a little clothed, and I mean, I can allude to what I'm doing without having to do the act. So I keep it very tasteful. Okay. So my husband is aware of it, so he has no problem with it. No. Really? He look at me like me crazy, like, girl, did you really do that? Yes, I danced for him a little bit, boo. I'm sorry. But he knows that eventually this will make me money someday. Yes. As long as I do, but I would never ever be I'm sorry, can I curse?
Yeah,
sorry.
you can curse.
But as naked on actual live television, I would never do that.
Okay. No matter how much you offer to get paid. I don't know.
I don't think so. Wait, maybe I'll take that back. That is true. That is true. I don't know. I can't say never. Maybe a boob or two, show. But other than that, nothing below.
Okay.
But it could be challenging. Yes.
Facebook, but I was trying to wait to see which question, but it said, I saw a movie with that name on Netflix. Asked them is that similar to that. So I was like, which one?
It is
so every time I put yours in, it comes up. I get on Netflix.
It is still. It is something on Netflix similar
to ours.
Love Hurts.
No,
to Death Do Us Part. It's a lot of ways. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's what she's talking. Okay. So the answer is
to look on YouTube.
Okay. Look on YouTube.
That's not us. Yeah.
Okay.
That's not them. Look on YouTube.
Okay. Perfect. So anything you want to let our audience know? We got about 5 or 6 minutes left before 6 o'clock. If you want to let them know any information, any websites, your Instagram information, how to get in contact with you.
Yeah, so you can follow me on Instagram at SilkWhite212. The website is Good to Go Films, good with the number 2, gofilms.com. And Facebook is just Silk White, and you can watch To Death Do Us Part free on YouTube, and you can watch Love Hurts just free on YouTube. Check it out whenever I get a chance, man. We appreciate all the love and support.
That's what's up. CC?
Yes. You can find me on Instagram, CEE_CEE101. So I'm on Instagram, and then my model page is CC Payne on
Oh,
Facebook
hold on now,
as well.
CC. You been holding information. You didn't tell us that you was a model too. Come on,
I did.
CC. When you come on this show, you got to let us
Oh,
know
Lord.
everything. So you
I-
modeling too?
I do a little modeling, but that's more so a hobby for me.
Okay.
I used to be real passionate about modeling. Unless someone requests me, I'm all for it. I'm all open to,
I love it.
you know, clothing, necklaces, anything, jewelry, hair model, whatever you need me to be. I'm good.
So hold on. So you based out of Baltimore too?
I am.
Okay.
I am.
Nice. Okay. Simone,
Yes.
You can find me on Instagram, All Eyes 213. Also on my new sunshade line, it's called
Oh,
Two
nice.
Shady Sunglasses.
Wait a minute,
on
Simone, did you
Instagram.
bring me some glasses today?
I need some glasses too.
And
Let me see.
on Facebook, it's Simona Moody on Facebook.
And did you also tell them about your lash line?
Ooh,
Not yet.
really?
I'm
You
trying
have a
to
lash
get that.
line?
Yeah,
Oh, you
I'm
got the
trying
lash
to
line
get.
coming out?
Not yet. I'm trying to get that off the ground.
It's
Okay.
coming.
It's coming.
It's
soon.
coming. Congratulations.
That's
It's
right.
it's here.
The lash line.
It's here. Yes, it's here. It's
It's
here.
coming. Glass and lash, honey. That's
Yeah.
what I'm
Yes.
What's the name of it?
Glass and lash. No, I'm just saying it. I was just thinking. I got the sunglasses, so I was going to do glass and lash.
Oh, I like that. Glass and lash. I love that. That's different.
Or shady lashes.
Ooh, I like that one
I like
too.
that, y'all. Look, I like
Shady
that,
lashes. Yes, I like that one.
Okay.
You can find me on IG at All Eyes on Ebony, a website for my have a luxury hit, my Diamond Mink collection.
Oh, nice.
And
Okay.
what's the Instagram for Diamond Mink Collection?
Same Diamond Mink collection
Okay.
Diamond
spell it
Mink
because
Collections.
People be trying to spell it different.
with the Y. That was
With the Y.
AMONDMINKCOLLECTION.
Okay, nice.
I need to address yesterday. I did let everyone know that we're having appreciation cookout
Yes,
on
yes.
June the 1st, but we were informed after I made that announcement that that's the same date of Tricky Entertainment's Wine
The Wine
Festival. So
Festival.
with that being said, our new date will be June 29th. We will have the flyers coming out for that as well. Soon as we can get this photo shoot out the way, which we're supposed to be
Ooh.
doing next Sunday.
Can't wait.
So yes,
It's gonna be dope.
Y'all have no idea how much stuff we got in store for y'all this year. So make sure y'all
It's gonna be
continue.
Oh
So
my
yeah,
goodness.
it's gonna be so lit. Continue to follow us, watch us, support us, follow our Instagram page, The Chyna Pink Show on Instagram. Also, my personal page is on Instagram is Chyna Pink the actress, and also Chyna Pink accessories. Next Sunday, we're gonna have a chef come cook for us next Sunday on the
Okay.
show. We also have two other special guests. Gerard with the 87 TV Network will be one of our guests next week. Congratulations to Gerard with his new podcast going on in DC.
Nice. And when is he coming?
He's coming next Sunday.
Next
He's one of our
Sunday, okay.
guests. And
Oh,
also
nice.
Charisma, which is a
Okay.
rap artist. Well, I'm not gonna say rap artist. She's a female artist
Mhm.
in the DMV area. She's also a guest next week. So we have 3 guests next week. So make sure y'all tune in. And we so appreciate everything. All the comments, and again, they asked me, can I post Dr. Arumala, your information on Facebook? So I'll make sure I do that after the
Nice.
show. And thank y'all for
Yeah, they
tuning in.
really
We
want
gonna
to come
have her
back.
again.
Nice.
Thanks,
A whole
Silk,
hour.
for coming through. We so appreciate the love for coming from Baltimore. That's a hike. We appreciate y'all coming through today. And
No
CC,
problem. Thank you for
coming
having
with
me.
us.
I appreciate you
Absolutely, absolutely.
for having us. Thank you.
Yes. So we're gonna close out right now. We'll see y'all next Sunday at 5.